Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it, and we'll surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards Football. I'd like to give special thanks to our producer today. He's making it happen, the very talented Logan Landers. And if you like the video, one more time, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Today's video is our 2024 NFL Draft prospect, Xavier Legette, wide receiver out of South Carolina. So, the gentleman that's going to help me break down Mr. Legette's profile and him going into the NFL draft, this gentleman is out of Key West, Florida. The gentleman is studied under Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick as a scout for the New York Jets. He comes out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, hometown of one of the greatest musicians ever, Prince. And he, and I consider, is the baddest, the greatest guy that's covering the NFL draft at any level. I will put him up against anybody out there. The very talented, and I call him the Phil Collins of the NFL draft, Mr. Daniel Kelly. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, very well. Thank you, Mr. Turner. That's a great way to put the ball on the tee as we're getting day by day closer to the 2024 NFL draft. It's great to be back on with you. Think the world of you. This is going to be a special show.
Let's get to it, man. What do you like about my man, number 17 out of South Carolina?
I like a lot about him. In fact, his article I did on him is fresh off the press at firstrundmock.com. I literally published it 10 minutes before going on the air in this show. I've been racing all morning to get this stuff done. Evaluation is something that takes all the hours there's in the day and some. You look at Legette there in your screen, number 17. There was some question. Is he 6'3"? Is he 6'1"? How tall is he? He was actually measured at the Reese's 2024 Senior Bowl at 6'1", 223 pounds officially. I went back and studied him on tape. Of course, tape is the old school way of saying it, on game film, right? Okay. In 2022 against Notre Dame, also in 2023 against Missouri, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State, Clemson, and Texas A&M. Everything we do at firstrundmock.com is game film driven, and we provide the evidence and proof. We don't just shoot off one-liners without any accountability. When you look at Xavier Legette, here's the thing, okay? When I watch him on film, now keep in mind, I've been watching ball for about 40 plus years right now. I don't look it, but I have, okay? And when I watch Legette on film, he reminds me of NFL legends. He reminds me of guys like Jerry Rice, guys like Art Monk, guys like Al Toon, guys that made it easy, natural catchers, striders. They knew all the work corners. They knew all the work in and off coverages. There's a little Deebo Samuel mixed in there too. If you look at Legette there on your screen, they do line him up in South Carolina in the backfield sometime to take a handoff. Do not be surprised if this is something he does in the National Football League. One CBS commentator said during the Georgia game this past season, there's a little Mike Evans mixed in there too. Mike Evans was a comp that the CBS commentator threw in there. You look at him, he has an ironclad build, okay? This guy has spent some serious time in the weight room. He's got that lean, muscular, just build in football pads. As you can see, this is what he looks like. He is a smooth athlete. Comes off the line of scrimmage. Let's close our eyes and picture this. He comes off the line of scrimmage with quick movements. He can put on a quick little move like, to either side, and he can get inside or outside leverage. And when I say leverage, I unpack that because football terminology, right? Leverage means the ability to achieve positional advantage against the cornerback that he's matched up against. Easily achieves that route leverage in routes, of course, giving him an advantage, creating throwing windows and so forth. He glides into his routes with building speed as he gets going. He drives his routes, into the secondary. He looks like a paper airplane, big one, big paper airplane, but he looks like one driving into the secondaries. He specializes in these these short to intermediate crossing routes where he just kind of drifts across the screen in front of the quarterback's face, either the short or the intermediate level. And that's where the quarterback, in this case, South Carolina's Spencer Rattler, found him often, kind of drifting across the middles of the field. Or what he can do is because you see, secondaries have to respect Legette's deep speed. They have to respect his deep game. The advantage with a receiver like this is he can drive hard downfield, like sell that hard go route, and then whoop, come back for the catch. And he's got the frame to box out and shadow out these smaller corners. And his deep game, like like we just talked about, or he can go deep, and he's got a legit deep game. He can do a lot of things very well deep. There's some Treylon Burks mixed in there from Arkansas we saw in the 2022 draft as well. He can high point the ball very well. He has a good sense of timing. He has a decent vertical. And the thing about Legette, and I want us to turn up our volume and really highlight this point. The thing about Legette that is his number one characteristic in game film is he is exceptionally instinctual. This is the way I would talk if I was in the NFL war room talking with scouts and in front of the owner and the coaches and the GM and the directors. Very, very instinctual football player. Probably going to catch the attention of organizations that appreciate instincts. Of course, the Baltimore Ravens appreciate instinctual football players probably any more organization out there. Catch rate 2020. 50% 2021, 53% 2022, 58% in 2023, 73% catch rate this last season in his breakout year with South Carolina. When we kind of unpack the positives and negatives, there's always two sides to every coin in life. Starting with the he either lines up out wide or he can transition into the slots. This guy, the positives. Let's go through the positives. Actually, far outweigh the negatives. On this one, a very strong target. I can't emphasize this guy's playing strength enough. He's got very high level wide receiver skills, well beyond his years. He's very competitive. Okay, that's important. Okay, is football important to this guy? Yes, it is. He plays like football is important to him. Smooth strider. He's somebody who the interesting thing about Legette is a lot of these receivers run very well defined routes on a kind of like a passing tree. If you've ever seen a passing tree, or look it up if you haven't, it's each route is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, kind of like trees with branches with the different routes. It's a fascinating thing I saw on ESPN years ago that Joe Theismann flashed up on the screen when he was doing a game, but a lot of these receivers run these well defined routes, but not so much with Legette. Legette kind of instinctually drifts to a spot. He kind of feels the coverage. The quarterback he worked with, Spencer Rattler, felt where he was going. He got to that spot. And the thing that makes a guy like Xavier Legette extremely difficult to cover is when he can run these type of routes. His corners are used to running, matching up against these certain specific routes. Well, he doesn't always run that, so he gets open. It's harder to cover him. He's somebody who will work back to the quarterback when he's in trouble. When he's scrambling back there, pass rushers in the quarterback's face and everything, Legette will work back to the quarterback, which is a great characteristic and a great value to have for an NFL offense. He's a natural, type of, receiver, runner, catcher. He's got good hands. He does drop some as a negative. He drops some that he shouldn't. That's one of my negatives. I'll jump ahead to that. Not the easiest guy to bring down after the catch. Yakety yak, yards after the catch, not the easiest to bring down. Does show some burst after the catches. He really highlighted that against Mississippi State. If you go on the site FirstRoundMock.com, we provide all the film. The link to the Mississippi games State game is right on there. And again, I keep going back to it. Excellent deep ball tracking ability. He's able to, and he gets into blocking. You see, here's the thing. a lot of these receivers, are just out there to collect a check and catch the ball and get on some highlight tapes. Okay. That's not Legette. The mark to me of a very good receiver is a well-rounded receiver, a guy who catches a ball, a guy who's also selfless as a blocker. This guy is big, okay? This guy of a hybrid. This guy, you can see the muscles on this guy. He's kind of a cross between a wide receiver and a tight end. He will block like he means it. He aggressively will get into his blocking downfield, which I really enjoyed watching and I really like about a wide receiver. To conclude, first round grade is where I have them on my board. I will be releasing a receivers board in a couple days, so with the number of guys on there. But Xavier Legette is an extremely impressive prospect who plays like an NFL veteran, and he's only going to be an NFL rookie. Your thoughts on Xavier Legette, wide receiver, South Carolina, Mr. Turner?
I'm going to say this about Mr. Legette. When I think about him, DK, I think explosiveness. I think a guy like going back to the neighborhood and you playing out there on the playground, he runs away from people. Then I think about the body. Look at the body of that young man, what we call rocked up, swole. That's what we used to say back in the day. And you mentioned a good point about him being competitive. Well, he's from Mullins, South Carolina, that only has about 5,000 people. Then he was an all-state quarterback. So he got to South Carolina, he had to change positions. First few years, he didn't make any really lot of noise, really didn't come into his own till he got an NFL quarterback. And Spencer Rattler. What I like about him, look what he did this year. 71 receptions, over 1,255 yards. Average, what I call a big key, 17 yards a catch. But I'm going to be very interested when the combine comes up, what he's going to have in that 40 time. Every time you look at this young man, he has the ability to run away from people. Go back to the Tennessee game last year when South Carolina put it on Tennessee like 63-32. But when you look at all his skill set, you got to think about a Trumaine Johnson at Grambling when he came out in the 80s, or Warren Wells that played with the Oakland Raiders. They had that speed. Then he got a little bit of DK Metcalf. We all know how good he is. And DK got that rocked up body. Then he got a little bit of Chris Carter when he was at Ohio State, formerly Minnesota Vikings. Then he got a little bit, how can we not leave him out, DK? Out of Alabama, by way of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Mr. Terrell Owens. Then you're looking at all the great wide receivers. It's something about that water at the receiver position in South Carolina. Sterling Sharp, can we give him an A+? Troy Williamson, who's a first rounder, can we give him an A+? Mr. Alshon Jeffries, can we give him an A+? And of course, you mentioned earlier Mr. Deebo Samuel, who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl with the 49ers. And then when I look at the young man and I'm looking at his body, I'm looking at his speed, I think about back when I was in school, back in the late 70s, early 80s. He reminds me of Danny Knight that played in Mississippi State, same type of build. Then he reminds me of Anthony Morgan that went to Tennessee out of the city of Cleveland, Ohio. Then he's got a little bit, when you're talking about speed and I'm talking about running away from people, he just passed this year. But, man, when I start watching Monday Night Football, Homer Jones, who played with the New York Giants, who played with the Cleveland Browns, was a big receiver that had that speed that can run away from people. Texas Southern in the house tonight. Then this is for my boy down there in Lufkin, Texas, Mr. Mark Bass. He reminds me of another big receiver in the early 70s that played at the University of Houston, Elmo Wright. And then he's got that athletic ability. He can really go up and get some contested catches. He got a little bit of Dez Bryant in him. Dallas Cowboys, Lufkin, Texas back in the house. And then when you look at all his skill set, remember Nebraska? When they had that explosive team like in 83, 84, they had the young man out of Fort Worth, Texas, the quarterback Turner Gill. Then they had that running back out of New Jersey from Camden named Mike Rozier. At the receiver position, they had another New Jersey guy. And if you go look at the statue, look at the size, look at the build, he was a bad man, Mr. Irvin Fryer. I love this young man right here. When I think about Xavier Legette, I think explosiveness, I think body, I think speed. And what you got to have, when you get to that next level, you can have all the route running, you can have all the other ability. But to me, when you playing the X receiver on the outside, you got to be able to run from people. And that man with that big size from there, He can run for people. And let me throw one more comparison in there. Baby A.J. Brown. Back to you, DK.
Yeah, those are a lot of good comps that you just mentioned there, Mr. Turner. The thing about comps to me is that when you start throwing out just a plethora of name guys and guys who have made huge contributions to the game over the years, to me that just screams, hey, pay attention to Xavier Legette, because there's some mixture of all these greats inside of him. And really my closing thought on Xavier Legette is this, and this is really what excites me the most about him, is that when you're going from college into the National Football League, it's kind of like, like the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, we aren't in Kansas anymore. I mean, we're moving up. We're going up the ladder here. Okay. Kind of like the old video games, when all of a sudden you're at the next level, and all of a sudden you see these big, these monsters and stuff. That's what we're dealing with when we go to the NFL. And a great college player doesn't always translate to a great player in the NFL. But the thing that really intrigues me about Xavier Legette is, number one, how incredibly instinctual he is. That's a big one. Okay. He feels things. There's a lot to be said for that in the National Football League. It's having those high level instincts. And number two, when you're going into the NFL, you're playing cornerbacks who have played in the league for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, who knows how many years, okay? These guys are experienced, covering the best wide receivers in the world in the National Football League. So you can come into the league and you can be another pretty face, and you can run fast, and you can cut fast, and you can do a lot of different things. But there's no substitute for experience, as the old saying goes. And when you look at Xavier Legette, the thing that's going to give him a leg up, no pun intended, is the fact that he's well beyond his years in his route running. He's a very crafty route runner. When you mention an Irving Fryer, Mr. Turner, that was a crafty guy. That was a crafty route runner. And that's what Legette is. He's a very crafty guy who, just all of a sudden he'll be running and just whoop, he'll give a little side step and go, or he'll come back, or he'll do something a little bit different here and there that really isn't commonly seen rather in youngsters, in rookies. That to me is a thing that's really going to cause Xavier Legette to really be great in the National Football League and to really come out of the gate strong as a rookie in the 2024 NFL season.
If you like the video today, please comment and share. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. Special thanks to our producer today, the very talented Mr. Logan Landers, for making it happen. And special thanks to my man who just finished his conversation about Mr. Legette. I call him the Phil Collins of the 2024 NFL Draft, the very talented Daniel Kelly, coming to us live out of Key West, Florida. My final words about Mr. Xavier Legette. NFL ready frame, outstanding ball skills, and can beat press coverage any day of the week. Acceleration.
And destroy zone coverages, destroy zones. Thank you for watching, everybody.
God bless.